everybody. Hope we're all okay. Just another hour. Here we are. It's I'm lost in days. I think everybody's lost in days with this lockdown. I don't know. Anybody knows where we are. It basically feels like a weekend. Here we are on Tuesday. The sun is shining. We've got a great guest with us today. We're going to talk a lot about rugby. But first things first, we've got to talk a little bit about Simply Video behind us. They're looking after our streaming, as always, been fantastic. We've had them now for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and we've had some. They're always there helping us out just in case KC Communications come in with Lynn and upset the apple cart again. Also, as always, SGH Sporting Events. You can find all the information on there. All the past guests which we've had for the last 6 or 7 weeks now. There's some great interviews which we've had on there, and obviously the lads are all involved with that. And you can also go on there and like and share our page. Obviously, like and share it today. Get it out there. Let's get as many people watching this. Hopefully, we'll give them a little bit of time to forget about where they are in lockdown at this present moment in time. Sponsor again today is Drew UK. Drew belts, fantastic, best in the business, as we know. They are fantastic. As always, our guests. We've got 2 of our regulars down here. We've got David Lynn. Lynn, how are we doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Busy weekend, growing me hair again.
But to be fair, it looks like you've dyed the beard as well a little bit.
Yeah. I'll hopefully get another a part in the next Star Wars film.
It's looking good. Have you not been? I know you've got a little bit going on with your hair. Have you not been tempted to shave it off yet?
No. Do you know what? Everyone who's seen it says it looks better long. So, that says a lot for my hairstyles, doesn't it?
Well, I've got to say, mate, mine was nearly coming off at one point. It's getting so long, it's untrue. But somebody who doesn't have this problem, Hurd it. How's things?
Barnet's cut, trimmed, eyebrows done, back second, done. Beautiful.
So you're fresh for the week. Is it somebody's birthday this week or something,
It's all good in Leeds. It doesn't look as nice. It doesn't look as nice in Leeds as it does in London, where Kev is. But I believe the warm weather's coming up tomorrow. So looking forward to a bit of outdoor pursuits.
Absolutely. Out on the electric bike again, I would imagine, with AJ. I don't know where AJ is. He seems to have disappeared today. But I'm sure he's in the background somewhere. And our guest today, Kevin Sorrell. Kevin, how are you doing down there? It looks beautiful behind you. It looks like nice and sunny down there.
Mate, it's a cracking day, yeah. So it's, not a cloud in the sky. And as Hurdy said, you might be getting this tomorrow. So I'll be getting your factor 40 out, factor 50 out up there.
All he's been doing is gloating because he's been out on his bike and he's getting a suntan. That's all he's been doing. So don't worry, you can get him back at any point. It's not a problem. So, Kev, we're going to talk about your career. We've got you on here about your rugby career and what you're doing now and things. But first things first, we've got to start from the very beginning. You've been a one club man all the way through. How did it start for you? How did you get into rugby in the first place?
Just probably as most people do, really, down at a local club, really. Just went down with a load of mates from school. And then I was lucky at the school I went to. It was just a normal state school, but they took it pretty seriously. And then it was still amateur back then. So my first year at the club, it was still amateur. But it was, if you wanted to carry on playing at some sort of level, you just tried out at the local club. So I just went up to Saracens, and then I suppose with the advent of the professional era, it sort of like snowballed from there, and they piled in quite early and made a big statement early on, trying to get some big names into the club, and had a bit of short-term success early on. And then I'd say probably in the mid-early 2000s, it was we were pretty crap, to be fair, for a long period of time. That was probably the highlight of my career. But then the last year, there was a bit of a revolution that came in and changed. The direction of the club changed. And at the time, I was probably sitting there going, they've sold the soul of the club here. But when you look back now, it's been the best decision that we've actually done, because it's brought some stability and some success to the club. So it's been a decent journey.
I'm going to say we moved through your career pretty quick there, didn't we? I don't know what to talk about now. And that was it. That's the career in 30 seconds.
Kev, I'll ask a question. I played rugby kind of between 8 and 16, and I was a scrum half and kind of as they got bigger, I kind of started to struggle. But were you always, the position you played as a pro, did you play that position all the way through until you got kind of at that level from a young 8-year-old? What position did you start at and what did you think you were going to play at?
Well, firstly, Hurdy, I think we've got to address the fact you're a scrum half, mate. That's a lie. I'm sure you'll be more in the front row, mate.
Come forward now.
Clear that one up, yeah. Yeah, mate, I was, to be fair, I was always a fly-off, but I always went to the trials at school, like under 14, under 15, under 16, under 17, didn't get anywhere. And the teacher turned around to me and said, why don't you change position? So I changed position. And then that year, I ended up getting into the effect of the rep teams that year. And that then allowed me to go at Saracens. So I did have a position change. I went from fly-off to centre, and then I was a centre from there on in, really. So just one game on the wing, which is very, very forgettable. So, unless you've got some serious wheels, I wouldn't recommend being out there.
What do you remember of your debut? You know, you getting into the first team. You're saying it's an amateur game. Was it like when you went in as an amateur? In that sense, obviously it changed pretty quickly. What was that first game for you like? Was it just like a normal game with the lads, or was it actually this could be a career coming from here?
I don't know about that because it wasn't an option at the time. It was just being rumoured about. So I was quite lucky. The first pre-season that I was at the club for, I got a phone call on a Friday night, and someone had dropped out on the pre-season trip because I was just going to be playing for the under-21s that year, and someone got dropped out on a pre-season trip to Limerick. We went to for a week, which that was an eye-opener in itself. But it was that was a break really, and then that allowed me to train with the first and the second team, and I got 2 games out there and sort of put a bit of credit in the bank from that moment on. So it was a lucky break, really. I'm sure that if you speak to a lot of people, there's always these little bits that allow us to open the door and actually take the opportunity from there. So,
well, to be fair, it's amazing how many people have actually said that when we've been on this show. You know, just being in the right place at the right time, and they've gone through the door and they've taken that. You know, going. You know, I'm guessing there was a bit of an initiation when you're going out there as well as an amateur. You're going in as a young kid, going away with a team as well in the first year. Was there a bit of kind of a senior player coming in and go, right? He's got an initiation. He's got to be a drinker. He's got to be. You know, what was that kind of? Was there anything going on like that at them days, or was it just come on, we're playing rugby and off we go?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a tough school. It was a very, very fast education in that sort of line of things. I mean, we were the creche, so all the new lads were the creche, and we had to serve all the senior players. And it was, I was quite surprised actually because I had to ring my dad halfway through the week and get him to put some more money in my bank account because I spent all the money we were going out every night. So it was pretty relentless, pretty relentless. But you sort of, you know, it's like you keep your head down and you try and see where you pitch in, and then you find your place. But it was, it's just probably very good. There was no social media back then, so yeah.
Yeah, I think every pro said that. Every pro said that about social media. Every guy of between 40 and 50, Kev, have said. What we got to then, Razor Ruddock, all these guys, all these Will Carlin, all these blokes have just said basically, imagine all the stories about Will Carlin, Princess Diana now, if it had been live, all right, we're live, but it wasn't live. You know what I mean? Imagine the shit. I mean, you just could have. He said it totally stopped the rugby for him for like 6 months. So I mean, imagine like you can't get up to what you used to get up to.
No.
You know what I mean? I mean, us carrying you home pissed every time you fall asleep in a boozer would have been on Twitter, Kev, so you can't do that.
That was me giving you strength training, that was all. That was me giving you strength training.
He loves falling asleep, this lad, in the boozer when he's hammered. He can sleep on a frozen rope, this lad, I'm telling you.
To be fair, that's normally you, though, Eddie, I think.
Yeah, that is me. I'm hands up as well. I can.
You know, normally he just disappears after a few, and that's it. He pops in and pops back out again very, very quickly. You know, you spent your whole career, you know, at Saracens, and obviously now you're on the coaching side of it. You know, obviously you saw the transition of, as you say, amateur into the professional game. How big a difference was that? You know, you talked a little bit about. Saracens in particular came in and went big time a little bit on that side of it, bringing some players in and I'm guessing spending some money. So what was the difference did you see going through the years?
Initially, not a lot. That first year, it was actually a joke because
that's what counts.
They signed all the players, and we were professional in name. But the only thing we did different was we got a membership to David Lloyd, so we could go and do weights there once a week. That was literally genuinely the only.
Lady's got one of them.
Got to play tennis.
It was actually staggering looking back that we were professional back then. But then halfway through that year, again, we had a change of coach, which seemed to be happening pretty regularly during those early years. And it was Francois Pienaar, who was the World Cup captain for South Africa, and he was instrumental in making it professional. And then we moved to daytime training, and everything was looked at, like the diet and all the S&C, everything you could possibly do back then. It was groundbreaking. We got ahead of the curve basically because of the insight that he had. And then I think just year on year now, it's just getting scary how fit they're getting and how strong they are. It's frightening. It's frightening, and that's like evident in the collisions that are happening in the game, and it just takes so long to recover really. So it's I'm very happy retired.
And that transition from playing, obviously you had a career, very successful career down at Saracens all the way through. What was that transition from being a player to suddenly being a coach, and most likely some of your teammates were still playing? What was that transition like? Because obviously now you're coaching down there, and it was pretty quick into that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the club are pretty good at this now. They're very proactive in trying to assist people in terms of future-proofing themselves. So when it comes to the end of their career, it's not a shock. They've not got nothing to go into. So they were just sort of starting this as I was coming to the end of my career. So I'd gone into the city and had a look at a couple of banks and everything, and a few other bits in different sectors. But a mate turned around to me and said, "Do you fancy doing some coaching with me?" So I went down there. I was like, "I'll do 1 day a week." And after a couple of weeks, I was like, "I love this. I'll do this a couple of days a week." And then I ended up going to the games as well. And it was just sort of snowballed from there. So I knew I wanted a coach. And then the opportunity was presented to myself to go into the academy there. And as you say, I was actually ended up, because I was working with the academy, it was all right. The players I was playing with were still there. And you'd have to take the odd session, but they were really good. Like, if they're dicking around, you just sort of give them a clip and that's it. But they were really good in terms of helping what you do. And then I did a couple of years with them, and then moved on to the first team. So it was a good little grounding to go to a National One club, do a bit of work in the academy before going into the main team. So.
And with the first team itself, you've brought some great players through playing for England. You must be, kind of, when you see that player playing for England, what kind of pride does that give you?
Oh, massive amounts, yeah, because you basically, we're there to try and allow that person to maximise their potential. And when they then go forward and earn a bit of international recognition, and then not only earn that, but then are a top performer in the international stage, it's brilliant, because it's the hard work that they've put in, but you sort of it gives you a bit of a glow and a bit of kickback for the work that you've been doing or trying to do with them. So that's the kickback you get really from it.
And do you get to watch them down at for England? Do you get down there to watch them as well? And then when they come back to the club, you actually bring that coaching back into play for what they're doing, or do you leave the England guys to do their thing? And how does that work?
They're pretty good. I mean, they're very open. Like, if we want to go down there, we can go down there. But invariably, this is the problem with rugby, really, is that there's no separation between the international and the league match. It's in competition with one another. So we actually have fixtures on all the weekends that England are playing in the Six Nations, in the Autumn Internationals. So we're busy doing prep those weeks as well. So it's hard to find the time to get down there. But mate, we're in pretty regular contact with them when they're away, and just having a chat with them, seeing what they've been doing, and if there's anything they want to bring back and they think works for them. It's good to get influences from outside. So. And
through the current situation. I was just about to say there. Through the current situation, how hard is it to get that fitness stuff? I know the football world, for me, better, because the football world, they're getting their fitness regimes in. What's happening in the rugby world at the minute? With the current situation, are they, do they get in training regimes put forward? Are you monitoring all that side of it? How's it working at the minute for that?
I think there's been a lot of jet washing. I think there's been a lot of lawn mowing. Not a lot. No, we've all been furloughed, so there's not a lot of. I've not been into the training ground for about 8 weeks now, so I think there was some stuff sent out to the boys that if they wanted to do it on their own terms, they could do it on their own terms. So they've been ticking over, but there's been no we have phone calls with the players to see how they're getting on, mentally more than anything, rather than physically. Yeah. But it's there's been nothing really official. So I did see that Sale had gone back and done some sneaky training yesterday. So, but I think there's a board meeting tomorrow, so we'll find out Thursday then what the constraints are going to be. But I don't know. If it's social distancing, every part of our game is people coming into contact with one another. That's exactly
no chance.
No, Joe. I mean, you look at football, don't you? You look at football. You look at the German kind of thing over the weekend, and they're playing, but rugby is in scrums. It's big hits. I mean, football, you're still having contact, but rugby is a totally different baby, isn't it? You know, you just got to. There's a lot more in blood in your sport. You know what I mean? There's a lot more like scrumming.
Bit of arse fingering every now and then as well.
Those big bars have gone now. That's fine. The big bars have gone. Just out.
Oh dear.
But I think in professional sport though, it's a real difficult. And obviously, you just touched on it there, Eddie. You know, I don't know what all three of you guys. You know, we've all played in professional sport. You know, what did you think of watching professional sport this weekend? Kev, what did you think? I don't know if you watched the golf or did you watch the football? Did you watch any of the professional sport this weekend, which was live? Kev, have you gone? Can you hear us?
I heard you. I watched a bit of when Alfie's lad were playing, Harlan's lad were playing. So I watched a bit of that, and I thought the atmosphere, as we all knew, would be like a training game. It felt a bit like a training game with a bit more contact. But listen, I didn't keep it on for long. I only watched it because Harlan was playing, really. But the golf, I watched a little bit of the golf. It was good to watch people hit shit shots, really. You know what I mean? Wolf played pretty poorly, and and I know when a bad shot's hit, a lot of the time it's not covered. But this was 4 players hitting shots, and the cameras were covering every shot. I thought it was an interesting one when that fella with a big wig came on and spoke about his country. That was a bizarre 15 minutes when Trump came on. But listen, it was live, and I think everyone enjoyed watching a bit of live golf and carrying in their own bags, and it was a bit of real for people watching, really, because we do that day in, day out now, So.
Lynn, what did you think of it this weekend with the live sport back on the TV? What did you think?
I was struggling because I've cancelled all my Sky Sports.
You're just too tight, aren't you?
Too tight.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, have you seen any of the golf at all then this weekend, Lenny? I know you don't like golf anymore, but it's
on Twitter.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
Well, it's all anticlimax stuff, that, isn't it? But I can't imagine watching. It'd be just like filming. Obviously, the standard's good, but just filming 4 lads with bags on the back and trying to have. I don't know. Was there any good needle? Was there any good banter? Were they mic'd up or anything, or not?
They were mic'd up. Yeah, they were mic'd up. But I only watched an hour because I got bored of it, to be honest. Because there was just no atmosphere with it.
Yeah. I saw a bit when Fowler gave McIlroy. He had about 6-footer. And he gave him a bit of shit, and he said to him after he held his 6-foot, and he turned around and said, "That's 2 FedExes I've won and $13 million. You think I'm going to be bothered about this putt?" And then just kind of give him the
get back in your box.
Get back in your box, yeah. So I've kind of.
I tell you what, can you call it? Harry's Heroes last night for me was brilliant.
Yeah, I watched that this morning.
Wouldn't it be good if they did a rugby version of that? I mean, can you imagine the bar antics?
Yeah, the old boys like your pal Richard Hill and them.
I don't know if even Razor had cut the mustard, would he, in the bar with all the rugby lads?
I don't think he would.
Talking of that side of it though, the lads last night, I watched it this morning. And being in a changing room, you know, these guys have got it on tour and so on. Yeah, I've been in a football changing room and you've been in a rugby changing room. There's nothing like that camaraderie, is there, from that? You know, you never lose that. Is that the one thing that you miss from your playing days, or do you still get it now as a coach? Do you get it in a different way?
It's the closest thing now, being in and around, because you're in and around that environment, and you get the buzz after the game and that feeling. Yeah, but it was a bit weird, like not having that as coming from your own sort of experience and having it through somebody else's experience. But it's the closest thing. But it's brilliant. It's like, and they do like to have a bit of a dig at it as well. So it's
And who's the biggest character you've had in your changing room in your days?
Well, currently I'd probably say Richard Barrington's pretty colourful, so he normally is leading the charge. Baz, he's been good value, should you say?
Kev, I mean, I speak to your brother-in-law quite a lot about it, and your father-in-law, you know, I know him well, and it's funny. When you were playing, from the day you stopped playing, from the coaching you got and all the information you're getting on all these kind of looking at people's bodies and what part they do. I mean, I came back from the World Cup in Japan and I sat on the plane next to the eye lady who worked with the Eddie Jones. You know, the lady who worked on the eye. She was sat next to me, and I sat next to her for 7-8 hours flying back from. And I can't believe it. I remember her working with Ernie Els and trying to help him with his twitches, and she did it. And she was just saying the work and all the stuff you're putting out. How much has that changed since? I mean, you've been retired now. What, 8 years? Is it 8 or 9 years? You've been retired 10 years.
10 years.
9 years. Yeah. So again.
So how much has that changed? What's changed since you stopped playing to what you do now?
Well, I'd say there's just stuff's been nudged on, like year on year, like the nutrition and the recovery, and there's a different way of recovering. Or we've got cryotherapy chamber at the club now, so that's been installed. So I think how we do our fitness now is different to how we did it 5 years ago, sort of thing. And it's everything's measurable to the most minutest thing now, and they're looking for an inch and like a 1% here and there. And but that said, what's brilliant about the fella that who's our performance director, he looks at the world of cycling and the marginal gains they talk about in there, and like trying to squeeze all those things out. But what he believes is in our team environment, the camaraderie and the togetherness, you can make up for some of that marginal gain. So that's why we have these trips that we go on, where they just send us away to a place for 2 or 3 days, and it's just going to a bar, going to a golf course, going to like go-karting, going to a beach, going to wherever, having some nice meals, going to a vineyard, whatever, and just being in one another's company and sort of building up that rapport between one another. And he feels that the trade-off between the time that could be detrimental in our performance outweighs the marginal gain sort of side of things. But there's still stuff they're doing, like trying to push that. But I'd say that we're quite professionally old school in that way, that we'd allow them to have a beer and encourage them to get to know one another. So.
Yeah.
And do some players who come in then, do they find it difficult to take that on? Some players who have been to other clubs, which might be, I'm not saying more professional in that sense, but don't allow that or don't want you to go out drinking, and they want you to be, it's regimental. Do they find it quite difficult coming into that environment?
Oh, it's funny. Like, so we went pre-season. We went to Lisbon for 3 days, and we flew over there we got over there the Friday, and the Friday night we were out at a bar, and I was just chatting to this one lad who was new to us last year, and he was like, "Oh, this just doesn't feel comfortable. I just don't feel comfortable doing this. Just doesn't. Are you testing me? Are you testing me? Are you watching how much I'm drinking?" I was going, "No, mate, I don't care. Don't give a shit. Like, enjoy yourself." So he literally couldn't handle it. So yeah. Whereas other boys have taken to it that I don't like water. But
yeah, I can imagine. Go on, Lynn, you were going to ask a question, I think.
It's reminiscent of like the European Ryder Cup team, that, isn't it? How they have that natural togetherness coming off just the way the European Tour is against America. But then you sort of look at watching that Last Dance and that Bulls team. They were they went through. There was a couple of like rivalries in there, weren't there? At one point where they actually the blows were had, weren't they, between Jordan and. But that then brought them closer together, didn't it?
Yeah.
After he apologised and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was massive. If you're all like one unit like that, and like you're looking out for each other, that's. I don't think you can underestimate how much that means.
No, and I think the thing on that as well, and from my day when I was at Leeds, we had I would say there would be a fight on the pitch generally in training every 3 to 4 weeks. Really? Somebody wouldn't get on, but it'll be forgotten as soon as you get off the pitch. It was just something which was building up, and it was something which needed to be sorted. And 9 times out of 10, that was either, like you're saying, that was a night out which we needed to sort it. We weren't doing things on the pitch, so we'd go out and have a few drinks, and suddenly your inhibitions have gone, and you start talking and getting out in the open, which actually then brings you closer together, as you say, in the long run.
Yeah, I reckon whatever it's ever happened with us, it's just so competitive that the training sessions get a bit lively, and that's been the breaking points in those really. But the other good thing is they will sit down and have a chat about it afterwards. It's not like they don't hate each other. They'll come to some sort of compromise or come to a position where one's understanding where one's coming from and how they're talking. So there's different avenues of like trying to facilitate those conversations to try and get everybody to understand everyone better. But it's normally born out of competitiveness rather than anything else with us, I'd say.
Yeah.
And that was the thing last night. We go back to the Razor Ruddock and Paul Merson thing last night, which I'm sure we all watched and saw. That was just like pure love from Merson to Razor to make sure that you don't go down that path. And I think that's the thing which sports people generally have, the respect which they have together. They actually will. It hurts when somebody tells you you're not good enough or you're doing this or you're doing that. It hurts from your teammate to tell you that than it is from maybe a coach or somebody in the background as well.
Yeah, like it's been a bit of progression and a bit of growth of our team really, in terms of like you think that the coach is there on the pitch giving direction the whole time, whereas now because of how our players have been together for a long period of time and they've developed into some proper masters of the game, you know it's more of a facilitator with some of them, and you just sort of guiding them and trying to find out where their head's at and what they're doing, and it's more of you're less hands-on and taking a step back and letting them drive it and letting them manage it, and that's been part of learning for us as coaches as well, not to intervene and let them problem solve and let them fix things. So it's been a bit of a journey for us as well with the growth of the players, how we've then sort of like handed it over to them a bit more. So,
and how did that? We've got you on. We've got to talk about last year, what happened at the end of the year, with the points deduction. Talking about the players at that point as well. With what went on altogether, how did the players react to that point? How did the coaches react to that point? With the deduction and being relegated in that sense, and obviously looking at this season going forward, how did the players react to it all?
Well, initially there was like the 35-point deduction. So it was as soon as it happened, it was like, whoa, that's right, okay, right. What do we need to do now? We've got to stay up. We need to stay up. So we basically looked at the European matches. We basically, your top players have a limited number of games they can play for you. And coming off the back of the World Cup, some of our boys, they're allowed to play like 32 games of the year, I think, and they'd have played like 11 games already. So we then had to prioritise the league matches. And just by chance, the league match that we had directly after that, we didn't have any of the England players available for, because England had made the World Cup final. So we were still with the squad that we'd carried through from the start of the season. And it was really lucky because the fixture list had been kind to us. It had given us Gloucester away, which is probably the most hostile ground you could go to. So we rolled out there. They're throwing money at us. They're throwing all sorts at us. But it almost had a galvanising effect on the boys. And like, it was an unbelievable performance, and we won that game against like a real strong Gloucester team. And it was brilliant to see how they responded. And we've had a couple of performances like that where we had no right to win it, but the boys have come together and dug it out. There's been some others on the flip side where it's been like we've been all over the place. So it's been a real journey of up and down because everybody's situation has been completely different. Because then when they applied the extra deduction, so we knew we were getting relegated, then you've got some people who are proven international players that they're going to get picked for their international team anyway. So then you've got a couple of young players so Ben Earl, who got capped in the Six Nations, and Max Malins, some real good, bright prospects who have just sort of scratched into the international scene. They've got to be out there still for their own careers and what they're doing. You've got some of the players that were maybe going to do another year and retire, and they're going, do I want to go into the Championship and do my last year in the Championship? So it was, everybody's situation was completely different. So it was tough. Manager knows, and that's where I guess the genius of my boss Mark, what he does in terms of his management of the squad and how he sits in those conversations with them. So it was a weird situation. So
because I know when it was at Leeds, it was like there was a togetherness as such. It was like, there was a load of people had to go and they had to, it was like getting that bond back together. But what it did do, and I'm sure it has done for yourself, is the fans even more were on your side. The fans really jump on the back of it and really support going forward. And I'm guessing you would have seen that straight away as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like we've got a real good hardcore group of fans that are there supporting us. So it was always going to be interesting like how it played out because I don't know. You sort of, I suppose, part of the process for us now is to sort of take our medicine, go down into the Championship and try and earn respect again through the results and the performances we put on the pitch because that's only what we can do really, trying to build some trust again with the public. So, yeah.
Well, let's hope that happens. We've got to also talk about your football as well. You're a massive West Ham fan. What's all that about?
That's the most frustrating thing going. The most frustrating thing going. Yeah.
What did you think about the transition? Again, we talk about a club there. Upton Park was one of the most hostile grounds, to be fair, to play at. And now you're obviously at the Olympic Stadium. What was your thoughts about that side of it? Because it was a big move for you guys, that wasn't it? As being because I know you are a big West Ham fan. It was a big move. What was it like as a fan?
Yeah, and when they were banding it around, and all the stuff they were saying was like, it's going to have the similar sight lines to the Emirates. It's going to take us to the next level. It's going to allow us to invest in the team. You're sitting there thinking, right, these are all good little sound bites here, but we want to just see it backed up now. And then my dad ended up getting a season ticket there. So I went to the opening game. They played Juventus in a warm-up match. And I remember going in there, and it was just like, it was ridiculous. And I sat down, I was just going, this is actually unbelievable. This is West Ham Stadium. Like, I know people say we didn't pay for it, but
you didn't.
halfway through the game, I sat there, I turned to my man, I said, this is actually too nice. It's too nice. Like, people sat there and you could hear the players shouting on the pitch, and I was like, the sound it gets lost because it's such a vast bowl. It's not a stadium for football. That's the problem. But and then I suppose the things that you've compromised with that is the atmosphere and the performance of the team. Well, we've lost the atmosphere, and the performance of the team hasn't actually improved that much in terms of consistency. So it's a bit frustrating from a supporter's point of view. Yeah.
I can imagine. As I say, Upton Park was one of the most hostile places I think you'd go generally, apart from obviously the horrible Millwall down the road, Dyke. But West Ham in particular was definitely a hostile side of it. Hurdy, I know you do a quiz. Yeah. So Hurdy does a quiz. So he's got some questions for you.
I've got a quiz for you, Kev.
Goffey's still top, but we really want to get the Yorkshireman off the top of the list. So I'm going to pass you on to Hurdy. He's going to ask you a few questions from.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions before I do the quiz, mate, and a couple of things that I know. How's Jasper doing down? He's lads, you probably don't know. His son's down in the academy down there. Were you dropping down a league? Will that help the academy lads a bit? Because, like you said, are they going to blood a little bit more? Because you if you play the top lads who you got, I mean, you're going to wipe them 100-0. A lot of them, aren't they? I'm sure you're aware of that. But will the academy lads get a bit more of an opportunity? Do you think, Kev?
Mate, I think that's been like a huge positive from this situation because, as I said, like we weren't going to play our like effectively the international players in some of those European matches. So we've had a 19-year-old fly half go over to Racing Metro in their stadium, to Munster in the stadium, playing hostile places, and they've now got a bank of games under their belt, and they're going to benefit from that massively. So we've been able to expose probably 4 or 5 youngsters a bit earlier than we would have done normally to those sorts of big occasions. So I think it's, as you say, like they'll get plenty of game time next year, so it'll be good for their progression. So.
And how's he doing, your lad? I mean, I'm sure you don't get involved too much because he'll be coached by somebody down at the ground. But how's he tend to be doing?
Yeah, it's difficult because I want him to carve it himself because there's no point getting a leg up because you just get exposed to somewhere. So he's got to do it himself. But he's been ticking over and doing a few bits and pieces during lockdown. I actually think my passing's come on during lockdown.
He's if he does as well as his your old wingman Andy Farrell and Owen Farrell, you'll be all right with that, won't you?
Yeah, they've had all right careers, haven't they? So yeah.
Not done too bad. Right, okay. Question. We've got the quiz rolling. So you're an Essex lad, and this is a question that you'll have to probably have a bit of a guess at, unless you're more intelligent than I think. But Essex is known for its oldest recorded town. What is it? A. Colchester, B. Basildon, or C. Brentwood?
Colchester. I mean, that's one of the first lessons at school, mate. We have.
Go on, son. Come on. He's on a roll. He's 100% at the moment. Right. This is a bit of fun. This one. So, if you get 3 right, I'll. As we know, rugby union can come across as a bit, in comparison to the Northern game, rugby league, a bit posh. So I'm going to ask you a question here. It's called Game of Private School or Public School. And I'm going to ask you the first question. Owen Farrell, private school or public school, what did he do?
Well, see, he went to St George's, and that is actually, it's technically a state school.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Well, it was private, public. It sounds like he paid a few quid, his old man, for him, but that's fine. We'll go with that one. Dylan Hartley. What do you reckon he was?
State.
He was state, is correct, yes. Jamie George.
I definitely know he was a silver spoon. He was a Halo.
He was a private. It says here 40 bags a year his old man spent on his schooling, so yeah, he's a definite silver spooner. Joe Marler.
Well, I'll go private. You're
going private. He was public. He was state. He was brought up the hard way. Johnny May.
Yeah. Public.
Wrong again. Private. Another posh boy. You don't know your posh from your mid. Right. Last one. You've had 2. You've got to get this one right. Mako Vunapola.
He was private, yeah.
Oh, he was brought up with some pie and mash in the family, that lad. he wasn't getting, he wasn't having packed lunch like me and you as a kid, that is for
sure.
No. Tell me a bit about him before we go to the next one. But they tell me he's quite a strong lad. Who's lifting the most when you're watching him train? And I mean, who does ridiculous weights? You know, where do you think, Jesus Christ, that is off the chart?
Yeah, Will Skelton's pretty strong. Like, he's massive though. We got him. To be fair, we got him as a short-term injury loan. He came over for 3 months and he impressed so much. We were like, we've got to get him back actually, because he can add. He's quite unique in what he can do. But he must be 6'8", and he's got to be 120, 125 kilos. He came back for pre-season 145 kilos. He put 20 kilos on. He put 20 kilos on over the summer. So he went to Fat Club for the start of pre-season.
Wowzers.
20 kilos, that's 4
20 kilos.
Jesus Christ. Right, question 3. This is one. This round of 3 questions is don't let your old man down. All right. So questions about West Ham. When did West Ham move to the London Stadium, Olympic Stadium? 2015, 16, or 17? Don't let your old man down.
16.
16 is correct. Go on, son. Name 3 of the last 7 managers at West Ham. Karen, you can name if you want.
Village.
Yeah.
3 of the last 7.
Just name 3 of them. Just roll out 3 of the last.
Derbyshire.
Yeah.
Moyes.
Karen. Moyes, yeah. Bit of Italian, remember him?
Oh yeah, Zola.
Zola, yeah. You've got Allardyce.
Avram Grant, that's terrible.
Yeah, no, that was before. You've got, he was shite, yeah. So you've got Pellegrini, is it Pellegrini?
Yeah.
Pellegrini.
Pellegrini, Moyes. Yeah, so you've done all right there. Right, last one. What West Ham player gave up his Irish citizenship to play for England in 2019?
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice is correct. What do you think of that? Do many people do that in rugby?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because you don't want to come across as a dick after you've actually been playing for one. You've had a bit of a break with one country, but sometimes your heart's with where you are. So unless you're in that situation, it's hard. I think, but I don't know. They've got to change the rules so that if you've done it, you've done it. So that takes that away.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last question about your Olympic Stadium. I was sat there watching the Olympics in 2012. We had an unbelievable Super Saturday. I ask every guest the same question. We see how clever you are. Super Saturday, gold medalist, track and field. We got 3. Who were the 3 track and fielders? Come on,
triple jump fella.
Yeah.
Mo Farah.
Yeah.
And was it the heptathlete?
Yep, girl. What was she called? Sheffield girl.
Come on, big lad. The face of the Olympics.
I'll give you a clue. First begins with J.
Jess Bernis.
Yeah, and last one, strawberry blonde triple jumper. Come on.
Yeah.
This gets everybody, this one.
Oh, God.
I know, it's a tough one, because you've ended the first 2. Great.
Oh, Greg Rutherford.
There you go. Well done, mate. That's pretty good. Only a couple wrong. Kev, well done there. You didn't quite topple the Yorkshireman, but you know your stuff about Essex, and thanks for that. I think AJ's coming in bottom here now to ask you a few questions about internet questions.
Not about the internet, but questions that come in from the internet.
From
Jesus, Hurdy, how would you fare in that internet question?
Oh, I won't do too good.
Kev, Kev, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate.
Good, mate. Listen, a couple of questions coming in on social media. Barry asks, what's it like to coach so many? I mean, obviously, Saracens have got an absolute bucket load of international players. What's it like to coach so many of these great players? And is it difficult? Is it difficult to manage their expectations? You know, what's it like to manage these guys? Oh, so coaching.
Yeah, I think it's just a different challenge, isn't it? I remember like when I started out and I was at Barking, and it was literally I was coaching tube drivers and sparkies and scrap metal people. But you try and give them a dangler carrot in there and have a common goal together. So I still think the process is the same in terms of trying to have a common goal and what everyone's working towards. I guess the difference is that now we can ask more things of these better players because they're highly skilled. And I think they make us better coaches as well because they're desperate to improve. Like Owen Farrell is desperate to improve. He's desperate to be a better player. So he then makes you think about how you can help improve him and how you can assist them. So it works both ways really. Like the better players make you a better coach, I think. So because it pushes you a bit.
Do they ever bring things back from when they're away with England or whichever nation they play with, and do they bring any of what they do within the England camps or their international camps back to the training ground at club?
Yeah, definitely. We're pretty open. We try and get their engagement in what we do and how we go about doing things. So if there's a better way of doing it and they feel that they can suggest something, we're more than open to them coming and talking to us about it and debating it. Yeah. So if it's going to add to the team, we do it. Yeah.
And does England ever work with you guys to say, look, we want to produce more, attacking backs or more, we want to work on Elliot Daly's play, so can you go away and work with him on the club, or how does that work?
Yeah, so after they've been away with them for like autumn internationals or a Six Nations, they get like an individual program, so that gets sent through to us. So we then see what they've been working on with them while they've been there, and we can have a discussion about what they want to do and how they want to go about doing it for the next bit. So I think there's pretty close ties with the S&C and the fitness side of things, so that they're aligned in terms of people's body composition and how fit they need to be. There is a bit of sharing on that side of things. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Jez asks, who's the most competitive Vinipola brother?
Who's the most what? Sorry.
Competitive.
They're two very different characters. Like Billy is very laid back. Like when he comes out to do a warm-up, his warm-up is sitting on the tackle shields, whereas Mako will be sort of driving things and driving standards and being on people, and then he goes and practices his conversions. So they're the two very different personalities. But what you do know is when it starts, when the whistle goes, they're both bang on it. So it's they come at it from different angles, but the end result is the same.
Mm.
Brilliant. What about Maro's training? Is he? I mean, he's going to be one of the best players that England have produced in years. How good is Itoje?
Yeah, he's so diligent as well with everything he does. Like, so deliberate with his practice. So what's good for us is we can turn around to our young players, because the training session will finish, and you'll see boys scatter off to various areas doing their extras and doing whatever it is. And you look around, and the last people off the training pitch are Maro, is George Crew, is Wiggy, it is Ben Spencer, it is Owen Farrell. So you can literally go, lads, are you going to get the link between how good they are as a player and how much time and effort they're putting into their game? So, and the ones that get it take ownership of their game and drive it forward themselves. So they're a brilliant example for our younger lads to see.
So they're role modelling, effectively.
Pardon?
They're almost role modelling for the younger lads, aren't they?
It's perfect. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant. Dave asks, it's been said that rugby has become a little too focused on the defensive game. Is this something you agree with or disagree with?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of goes through waves, really. And I think when they made some law changes a few years ago, they were sort of favoured the defensive side of things. So it forced people to try and come up with different ways of doing it. I actually thought at the start of this season and the first few rounds of this season, there'd been a lot more open games and a lot more space on the pitch. Now, whether that was just because it was being refereed slightly differently, I know there's some plans to try and tweak a couple of bits and pieces to try and aid the attack, but definitely for a few years, it was defences were on top in what that was. So yeah, it was. It's good that the attack's fighting back now.
Right, brilliant. That's great. Obviously, the last World Cup, England did brilliantly to get to the final. Obviously, the outcome was not the one we all wanted, but looking ahead towards 2023, obviously England had a really young World Cup squad this time. Again, it's many things can change, obviously, over the next 2 or 3 years. But how good are England looking over the next 3 or 4 years and building up to that next World Cup?
Yeah, I think what you know you're going to get with Eddie is he's going to leave no stone unturned. And he will do he's a very innovative coach to try and think of new ways to do things. So I think England have benefited from that massively. And I think, as you say, like that run in the World Cup was brilliant, and it was obviously they just came up short in the final bit. If you look at some of the performances in that, specifically the semi-final, was a ridiculous game. Like for them, how well they played, and I think that's taken like 3.5 years to get there through with what Eddie's been doing with them, and then I think that he's now there for the next run into this World Cup can only be good for them because they know they're further down the line in their progress, and as you say, those players are used to it now. So hopefully, in 3 years' time, they'll be in a great place to give a good account of themselves.
Okay, great. And then the question, actually, an interesting one here from Bill. He says, rugby. Obviously, how do you see the future of club rugby within England? Is it strong? Obviously, it's not going to be as strong without Saracens in the league, obviously. But should salary caps be removed, for example? How do we compete against the French? How do you see club rugby here back home domestically?
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be quite a big impact on it because what became apparent was that as soon as the lockdown came into force and we weren't playing games, there was no money being generated, and the clubs weren't cash rich, so that it's a bit of a worrying situation because there's a genuine threat that some clubs could fold, and that's not right. But that should be the way. So I think they'll definitely have a look at the league structure maybe, and around the wage cap and players' wages because they increase the wage cap, and then it's the better players are getting that increase. So is it going to be fairer across the board in terms of what they do? I think for the stability of the game, they need to have something in place to do that. Yeah, definitely, because it's just not sustainable really. Like there's only a couple of clubs that are making a profit every year. So when that money stops, they're in a whole world of pain. So yeah, I do think it's going to be quite a big thing. There's talk about whether we go to a global season as well to be aligned with the Southern Hemisphere. So that could have a big part to play as well. So yeah, again, no one really knows at the moment. We're just trying to work our way through this and see when we actually get back to doing some training.
Yeah, and I think I missed that actually. When do you think you'll be back out training?
I don't know. There's a board meeting tomorrow that we maybe could be hearing how they're going to relax it, or they go about doing this social distancing. But it's going to be tricky because everything to do with our games coming into contact with one another. So I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's well recognised within football they need a bit of a mini pre-season to get themselves not just physically fit but match fit. How long will it take for the rugby guys to get themselves match fit?
Well, so we normally do a 10-week pre-season, and that's so the RPA, the Players' Union, have got in place that every player has to have 5 weeks off. So when the season finishes, there's a minimum of 5 weeks rest. But then we do a 10-week pre-season, and even in that 10 weeks, we're building up the level of physicality, like week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10, and they're ready to go. If they turn around to us and said we've got a month's pre-season after they're not, I don't know what they've been doing for the last 8 weeks or 9 weeks. It could be, I don't know. There's a part of me thinks there's a player welfare issue here, that you've got to be able to look after your assets and make sure that you're not making them do things that are basically just teeing them up to get injured. So you want them to go into the games prepared and fit and able to do what they need to do, rather than sort of, I don't know, limping through it really.
So yeah. a good period of time.
I'd say yeah, it's gonna take a month would be tight. I'd say to get them up to speed. So.
Really well.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Kev, listen, there's a lot of questions, and we could, as we say with every guest, we could talk for hours, but time is our enemy in this case. But thanks very much for answering all those questions. That's great. Thanks, mate.
No
Cheers, Kev. I've got 2 other questions which we always ask everybody who's been on as well. So it's just 2 questions left, which is who is basically the most trouble on a night out? Who would get you into the most trouble on a night out? I think you kind of mentioned a few names already, but and I know it's not Hurdy, because he does get people into trouble.
It's fine. No.
But who would get you into the most trouble on a night out?
When we signed Chris Ashton, one of their coaches from Northampton turned around to me and said, "You can guarantee that when there's any trouble that happens on a night out, Ashley won't be anywhere near to be seen, but he can guarantee that he would have been around there stimulating it in the first place. So he was very, very clever with how he went about things. Yeah, so he was, but good fun, good character, but like funny.
Yeah, and the other one which we always ask is, because obviously Hurd likes his golf and everybody else is back out playing golf now. 4-ball, what would be your ultimate 4-ball as a golfer? It doesn't have to be dead or alive. It can be anybody.
Woman, man, anything.
Well, Liz Hurley. I don't know. Jeez, I don't know.
It's always a tough question. Is this one?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'd probably take my old man because he's got into it now, so I'd take him round there for a round of golf.
Yeah.
And then maybe, I don't know, it'd be good to have gone with Sevi.
Yeah, there you go.
Just to see what he was like. And then, I don't know, he seems like a decent lad. I don't know.
No interest in playing with Tiger? Good story.
I was going to say, no interest in playing with Karen Brady or Sullivan or any of that lot then, I'm guessing, but
No, she's not on high on the list, no. Yeah, Tiger be good. Yeah,
Tiger be good.
Fantastic, mate. Look, thank you for the hour. We really do appreciate it. We know you've given up your time and everything else for what we do. Obviously, we are trying to raise money for the NHS, which is what these are about. Which again, just remind people out there that you can still get on there and put a couple of quid in on. If you go on to SGH Sport and Events Facebook page, you can still find the link there, and on Twitter to find the link to put some money in there if you've got a spare few quid at the minute. We know it's difficult times for everybody out there, but it'd be great for people to put some money in there because doing a great job for us out there. But firstly, Kevin, thank you very much for coming on. We really do appreciate it. We're going to wrap up now and we talk about our guests for tomorrow. But we do really appreciate you coming on, and thank you for that. We'd like to also thank our Simply Video, which are behind us, looking after the streaming again today, which again are spot on. We know the back there. Sponsor today, which is Drew UK. If anybody out there knows, it's they are the best belts in the golfing business. And it's owned by our very own Simon Hurd down there as well. SGH Sporting Events, you can find all the information on there. Again, please like and share our page as much as you can. Lynn had to disappear off because he's got builders in, so he's getting a wall knocked down, so he had to disappear with about 15 minutes to go. But, Hurdy, thank you very much. Kevin, really, really do appreciate it. Thanks again. And AJ, thanks for the questions on Facebook. We'll see you again tomorrow. We've got John Helm here tomorrow. He's going to come on and go through his career, which I have had the privilege of interviewing him before, and he's got a photographic memory, so he knows everything and anything about sport, and it's literally any sport. It's ridiculous, but that'll be a good one. We've got loads else going on this week, so we've got loads more coming on. So again, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, JJ, do you want to come in again?
Yeah, so Kev, actually, just talking about the golf lads, Kev, with the rugby players. Obviously, the footballers, when they finish training, they disappear and go have a game of golf. What do the rugby lads do? Because, I mean, are they into golf per se, or are they just into training and drinking?
Yeah. No, there's a few of them that are pretty hardcore. Yeah, they're into it. Yeah, so I think our best one's about 4 or 5. So Ben Spencer, he's very talented, but he's pretty decent. Yeah, crew to get around out in the course. Yeah.
Brilliant. Sorry to interrupt, because I just wanted to know.
Hey, it's all right, AJ. It's not a problem. You come in late. You ask questions which you've already asked. He's fine, mate. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem whatsoever. As I said, thank you to everybody who's been here today, and we will see you again tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Top boys. Cheers, lads.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, Kev. Thank you.
Bye.